So here we are back. The new Premier League season is returned at long. Well, has returned rather at long last. I'm going to miss the stress-free Saturdays, but let's just get into it. So everyone else has been doing Premier League predictions, and this will be the first time I've done it on this channel. So let's get into it. So I'm going to predict 20th to 1st in the Premier League, and just give me brief reasons why. So if you give me a brief moment, right. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I was doing it with Pete Whalen beforehand, actually, who's been on this channel before, and we were talking about who we think is going to stay up, go down, who is going to breach the top four, and who's going to finish in as champions, rather. So, let's not waste time, let's crack into it. So, bottom three. So, first of all, we have 20th. Originally, I had Bournemouth, but I'm going to go with Hull City, which I think everyone else seems to be. They've just lost Steve Bruce, Mohamed Diarmi's been sold, there seems to be a lot of turmoil behind the scenes. A lot of stuff seems to be going completely wrong there, and I think that's going to affect them on the pitch. They'll pretend it doesn't, but, let's face facts, it is going to affect them on some level. They're just not going to reveal it to the media, because it's going to have a negative spin put on it. So yeah, I think Hull will finish 20th. One of my friend's second team's actually Hull City, so yeah, fingers crossed for him, I suppose, that they do alright as long as they lose to Sunderland at long freaking last. But yeah, I think Hull will go straight back down to the Championship. 19th, Bournemouth. I think that, if you look at Jordan Ibe and Brad Smith, from Liverpool, the youngsters, Matt Ritchie, both of them could be decent, but we don't know yet because they're not proven fully in an established Premier League. But at the same time, Matt Ritchie going to Newcastle, I think, is a big loss for them because I think he's a very good player. It might baffle some people why he's chosen to go to Newcastle rather than stay at Bournemouth, but in my opinion, that's because Newcastle, I think Matt Ritchie knows this, I think Newcastle will be in a better position than Bournemouth in the coming years. I like Eddie. I like Eddie Howe a lot. I really like him. I like what he did last year, and I thought Bournemouth were very good to watch last year. But the thing is, once they were safe, their defence just crumbled, and the amount of goals they were conceding, I think, would have been very worrying for a lot of Bournemouth fans. Maybe I'm talking wrong here. Let me know in the comments below if you disagree with me. But I think Bournemouth have got decent attacking players, but defensively very suspect. And I think second season syndrome could play a part. So we'll see about that. 19th, Bournemouth. 18th, people are going to think I'm going to say Burnley. No, Watford. I think Watford will go down. I'm going to be honest, I haven't done as much research on Watford, so Watford fans will probably tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think getting rid of Quique Sanchez-Flores was a big thing for them. I think, especially that he guided them to 13th, comfortable safety, and got them to a cup semi-final last year, which I think was absolutely brilliant for them. Can they replicate the form they did? Can they replicate the form they did this time around, what they did last time? So, in my opinion, no. I don't think, I don't know much of the squad that they've got, but Watford fans would like to think they've got the quality to stay up, but, we'll see on that. They did break their track record transfer fee, apparently, to sign a player. I can't remember who it is, though. Shows lack of research going into this video. But there you go. There's my three. So, please, I'm probably going to get a lot of abuse already saying, oh, no, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. Wash it off, don't care. So, my relegated teams are 20th Hull, 19th Bournemouth, 18th Watford, and I'm sticking with that bottom three. Of course, my opinion could change over the course of the season, depends on what happens, but we'll see. Right, 17th. Now I'm predicting Burnley. I actually think that this time Burnley will have enough about them to stay up. Now, statistically, on paper, their squad's one of the weakest ones in the division, if not the weakest, to be honest. But at the same time, there's something about them that I think last time they were in the Premier League, that team that Sean Dyche had played way above the sum of its parts. Now, if you guys remember on Roke Report, I think I posted a link to it. When we appointed David Moyes, or before we appointed him, I did make your case against another Sunderland fan who argued we should get Sean Dyche. And I thought that bloke made some good points, i.e. Sean Dyche getting players to play for him, to commit to a long-term project, to commit to a system they're all familiar with. I think that he'll get the best out of Burnley, I think, this time around. And I think Andre Gray, look at it that way. Sean Dyche spent money on Andre Gray, scored a load of goals, Burnley back in the Premier League. And I think I would back Andre Gray to get a number of goals. Maybe not quite as many as he would in the Championship, but still to get a good few of them. And I'm basing this mainly off a feeling. My gut instinct tells me I think Burnley will stay up, actually. And I hope Burnley and Bournemouth stay up. As long as it's not at Sunderland's expense, as long as we stay up as well, I hope that Burnley and Bournemouth stay up. Again, as long as we do. So, let's move up now. The last of the promoted teams at 16th, Middlesbrough. They've impressed me quite a bit with their summer signings. Victor Fisher looks decent. Certainly Alvaro, I keep forgetting that name right. Negredo, basically. I think that's a very good signing. There's issues whether he might be past it, and certainly at his age, but he's proved in the Premier League he can do it. And Victor Valdez was a player I was really convinced by, and I was actually wanting him at Sunderland, funnily enough. So I was actually relatively jealous of Middlesbrough for that one. But I'm impressed with some of their signings. Brad Guzan, I think, is a decent backup keeper. There's a few other ones, but generally I think, and I like Aider Karanka. I think certainly he knows what he's doing. He's done well to get them promoted. He's got a defensive organisation about them, but he's got them playing some decent football and can score goals. And obviously that will be combining the balance in the two will keep you in the division more than anything else. So I think Middlesbrough finished 16th. There you go. So that's my bottom 5. 15th. I would have said West Brom prior to this because I don't think West Brom squad's anywhere near as bad as people say it is. It's not great, obviously, but at the same time, they've got Pulis as well. For me, 15th is Swansea, and I would have put them a bit higher had they not lost Andre Ayew and Ashley Williams. I think those are two big, massive losses for them, especially Ashley Williams at the back. I think they've got enough players to not worry about the loss avoid by Andre Ayew so much. But Ashley Williams, I think, is a massive, massive loss for them. He's not just a good centre back; he's a captain, and I think he's very highly rated among football fans. I think it's Everton's game, but it's Swansea's loss as far as I'm concerned. But I think they have got enough about them to stay up. It won't be a convincing season, I think, but 15th, Swansea. 14th, Sunderland. I'm going to do a separate video previewing for Sunderland's season because there's a few things I want to talk about in a separate video. But 14th, I think Sunderland. I think certainly losing Big Sam was a blow for us. But Moyes, given what he did at Everton, you can't really compare his last two jobs because they're two completely different scenarios to Sunderland. If Moyes does what he promises to, we should be all right. And 14th I would take right now if I was offered it. 13th, okay. 13th, I would say West Brom. Mainly the Pulis effect, but Rondon, a rate. Johnny Evans, a rate. But Ben Foster's a decent keeper. They've got Berahino, but of course he's probably going to leave. Then there's a few other ones. Craig Gardner I actually quite like, and I think a lot of people seem to disagree with me on that, but I actually think Craig Gardner's a decent player. Not the best, obviously, but far from the worst. And Pulis, does what he always does, keeps them up. They're not going to do much higher than that, but, at the minute, that's what West Brom will probably want at this stage. Certainly the owners will anyway, although apparently there's rumours of a takeover, so who knows? More ambitious West Brom? Who knows? Okay, 12th, Crystal Palace. Apparently they could be losing Balassi to Everton for 30 million, which I think is certainly one they should definitely take. I think they've got enough players, by the way, to accommodate Balassi. I think you've got Townsend, who I really rate, Punchin, Sahar, and Bakary Sako. The only thing I think they're missing is a big goal scorer, and if they get Benteke, my position might probably change. I think they might get top 10, actually. I rate Palace's team defensively a bit suspect, and the Pardew effect, yeah, blah, 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 heard it before. I don't think Pardew's that bad a manager. Just look when he left Newcastle, and then they almost got relegated that season, and then got relegated the following year. So, I know that's simplistic, but for me, I don't think Pardew's a bad manager, and I think he utilises the pace quite well. Palace have got too good a team to go down, in my opinion, and I think they will finish 12th. The next one is Southampton. Now, I am not going to try and pronounce this player's name because I know I'm going to get it wrong. The youngster from Bayern Munich that they signed, I think it's a Heiberg, whatever his name is, got promise and potential, as well as they've got Nathan Redmond, who has got potential. I think they slightly overpaid for him, but I suppose in today's market, that's what you'd expect to pay. But with Southampton, I certainly think they won't do as good as that they have done in previous years. I think losing Wanyama and losing Mane, I think were two big blows for them. But again, they seem to always find ways to replace the players that they've lost. And I think Southampton will actually I think Southampton will be comfortably all right. Mid-table, nothing special, but, we'll be thereabouts. So 11th for Southampton. 10th, the champions, Leicester. I've said it to my friends and to everyone I know in my personal life, and I'll say it on here, and I've said it before, I'm not on the Leicester bandwagon. I don't think their squad is absolutely fantastic. And I think Vardy, is a one-hit wonder. I've said that now, but I will hold my hands up on camera. If he has a great season again this year, I will hold my hands up and admit I was wrong. You can hold me to that later. Anyway, but let's just take my opinion out of it for a minute. If Leicester's such a big club, why can't they left Leicester to join Chelsea, who finished 8 places below them last year? So I can say no more. I don't rate Vardy as high as world-class standard, but say if you did, take Vardy and Mahrez out of that team, who have they got that's actually very good? Now, obviously, I haven't seen their new signings. I don't know how they're going to bed in, but one thing I would say if I was a Leicester fan, I would want to just get mid-table, be comfortably safe, and to me, Leicester, you've earned the right to play in the Champions League. In my opinion, make sure you're safe in the Premier League, but go all out in the Champions League, because you've earned the right to be there, you deserve to be there, go for it. That's all I would say. But Leicester, I think, will finish 10th, and that's that. 9th, Stoke. Stoke seem to be the team that always manages to finish mid-table, and they seem to improve their squad. They get some good players, Joe Allen in particular is the big one that they've signed, and I think he's a good player. I think it's probably Liverpool's loss in some ways, but it's definitely Stoke's gain. And they're building a team that I think will be consistently in the top 10, and that's already taken care of itself. But the only thing is, can Mark Hughes take them higher towards Europa League? Not so sure on me, but you never know. But I do rate Stoke's team. That's where I want Sunderland to be, really, and that's where I think as a club, not as a team at the minute, but as a club we should be at. But Stoke, very good side, will finish 9th. There we go. 8th, West Ham. I think Slaven Bilic will probably suffer a little bit from second season syndrome in a lot of ways, because last season was a brilliant year for West Ham, but it was partly because Chelsea and Liverpool underperformed, and I think both of them will get their act together this season. But anyway, I mean, Andre Ayew is one that they've signed, and they've just moved into the Olympic Stadium as well. So I think certainly for West Ham, I think they might fall a little bit short of what they did last time. But I still think 8th will be a good season for them, and they're going to try and take themselves to the next level and try and compete up for Europe. If I'm the case, I would probably just say, try and go for it in the cups and just get top 10 finishes, and that's a way to get into Europe, or take Europe seriously. Who knows? Anyway, 8th West Ham, 7th Everton. Ronald Koeman's first season. It's not just in attack that Southampton were impressive when Ronald Koeman was there. Defensively, they were actually very good. I think they had one of the best defences in the league, certainly last year. There was a run last year, they kept 5 or 6 clean sheets in a row. But at the same time, he will add that to Everton, because Martinez did well in his first season, but that was because David Moyes' defensive structure was well integrated into the players and it was still there. Then you look at 11th and 12th place finishes for Everton. Far too poor for a club of that standard. They should be much higher than that. But, I mean, certainly Ashley Williams, I think, is a good example. Do not sell Lamine Koné, son. I hope Everton do not get Lamine Koné. But even with just Ashley Williams, or even if they get Koné, either scenario, they've got some good defenders. I know they've just gotten rid of John Stones for a big fee, but he's been poor the last couple of years. And I certainly think, and if Everton get Balassi, they've got a bit of pace about them. Keeping Lukaku is important for them, because he's one of the players who's a match winner for them, and he's a really good striker. So if they keep hold of him, they could finish higher. But as far as I'm concerned, Everton, I think, will be top 7. I don't think they'll do anything spectacular yet, because Coleman's style might take a while to ingrate into the players. Ingrate, is that even a word? Yeah. Embed himself into the players. But I think Everton will have a much better season than they had the last 2. 6th, Liverpool. Sorry, that was the worst Scouse accent ever. I need to stop doing that. Right, Liverpool. There's no reason Liverpool can't finish higher, because of the fact they haven't got any European football. However, you've got Mane and Wijnaldum, 2 players I really like, and I think both are very good signings for Liverpool. Matip's a good one, amongst others that they've signed. But I just don't think their squad screams out to me as top 4 quality. Now, I could be wrong. I really want Liverpool to do well under Jurgen Klopp. I want to root for them. Not to the point where I support them, but I certainly want them to do very well for themselves. Having said that, there's like I said, no European football is an advantage, but I don't quite think the squad's top 4 quality. I hope I'm wrong, though. I hope they finish higher, but we'll see. 5th, Tottenham. Again, I used to like Arsenal quite a bit. I mean, I have the Arsenal badge in my room, which still hasn't been removed, actually. But either way, but I'm starting to drift more towards Spurs now, because the amount of fans, Arsenal fans, that moan and think they have it so hard when they don't. But Spurs, I think, have a good side. I think they've got a very good manager, and I'm glad they stuck with him, actually, because it was so easy for them to just sack him after the first couple of months of his reign at Spurs. And last year, they almost won the Premier League and should have finished 2nd. But there you go. Tottenham, I think, they're in the Champions League. That's what they want. But I just wonder if Pochettino might fall a victim of his own success in the coming years. Hopefully not, but we'll find out. With 5th, Spurs. 4th place trophy, Arsenal, of course. Who else is it going to be? Like I've said before, Giroud, I don't think, is good enough to win them the Premier League on his own, or at least mount a title challenge. Now, if they're going to get a world-class striker like a Cavani or a Benzema or anyone in that calibre, that's the idea. They need to get a world-class striker if they're going to mount a serious title challenge. And at the minute, for me, they've got enough midfielders. I think they could do some cover in defence, but this is a big summit. They've got to go out. I'm amazed they haven't gone out and got a world-class striker yet. Because you've got Sanchez, Ozil, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Walcott, Ramsey, now Xhaka, I can't pronounce that name, Wilshere, but even though he's on the treatment table most of the time. But with that midfield, and Sanchez as well, you will get a lot of chances as a striker. And if you're good, and if you've got a Benzema on the end of them rather than a Giroud, then there's no reason that Arsenal can't mount a serious title challenge. But for me, their squad isn't good enough to mount a title challenge, and I think they'll finish 4th. Sorry, Arsenal, but I think the 3 teams that I'm about to say are better than you. 3rd, Chelsea. Like Liverpool, got no European football, but obviously their team massively underachieved last year by finishing ninth. And I'd like to think that Conte will get the respect of the players. Now, when I saw Italy against Spain at Euro 2016, one thing that impressed me was that because Conte was in charge of Italy at that point, the way Italy beat Spain without barely having any of the ball reminded me a bit of Mourinho, and I didn't know what to expect from Conte before that. Having said that, now I know what to expect from them. I think certainly Chelsea will beat the teams they should be, like the Sunderlands, the West Broms, Bournemouth, Watford, the promoted clubs, Palace, Swansea, etc. But, I think that it depends how they do against the big teams. But no European football gives them an advantage in the title race, admittedly. But I just don't think their team is quite enough there to finish in the top two. But I think they'll finish third. So 6 positions better than last year, Chelsea fans, eh? Right, second, Manchester United. Now, I think Man United's actually done the best business in the transfer window so far. Mkhitaryan, Bailey, Ibrahimovic, and obviously just recently Pogba. Brilliant signings. Having said, Bailey's got potential. Mkhitaryan I like. Ibrahimovic, we know what class he is. And Pogba, say no more there. Just a brilliant player. Even though they might have overpaid, no player's worth the 89 million, but they had to pay that to get him. The reason I think they're going to be second and actually even competing for the title this year is because of Jose Mourinho. If it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have been anywhere near a title challenge for me. They would have been battling to get in the top 4. And as much as I don't like Manchester United, a club of their stature should be competing for Premier Leagues season in, season out. Stating the obvious, but it's true. I think Mourinho will certainly offer them stability in that front. I think it also depends on how he does against the big boys. Now, we know that they're going to beat the clubs they should be, the smaller teams, if you like. But, in the big games against big teams, he's always going to prioritise not getting beat over anything else. So let's see what happens with that one. I think Mourinho, though, will be the reason Man United are competing for the title. So let's see what happens with that one. And then, obviously, first, Manchester City Guardiola. Guardiola coming in, brilliant manager for Manchester City. And I think simply City have got Aguero. They've got Company, although he's been out of form a bit. Toure, out of form. De Bruyne, again, not great last year. I mean, I know a lot of these players didn't do well last year, but Pellegrini wasn't getting the best out of them. And I think Guardiola will provide a bit of a stern test for the players, which I think they do actually need. And I think Man City's got the best squad, the best facilities, and Man City now obviously have to make sure that they get a good run in the Champions League. And that's one thing I've got to mention, that Man United is in the Europa League. That might take its toll on them. But Man City have got the advantage of Man United. As far as I'm concerned, you can debate this in the comments below. Man United are always going to be bigger than Man City in terms of history. But I judge it in the here and now. And in the here and now, I think that Man City's a bigger team than Man United. They've won more Premier League titles in the last few years. They've finished above Man United in 4 out of the last 5 seasons, if I remember correctly. They've attracted bigger players, and they've been in the Champions League more consistently. But it's going to take time for Guardiola's style to implement itself into the players. And I think, and thankfully Sunderland get a result at Man City. But I think once they do get used to Guardiola's style of play, I think they will be almost not unstoppable, but they'll certainly be very difficult to play against, and they'll be up there. But there you go. So I'll quickly rehash it. From 20th to 1st, 20th Hull, 19th Bournemouth, 18th Watford, 17th Burnley, 16th Middlesbrough, 15th Swansea, 14th Sunderland, 13th West Brom, 12th Crystal Palace, 11th Southampton, 10th Leicester, this keeps going off, 9th Stoke, 8th West Ham, 7th Everton, 6th Liverpool, 5th Tottenham, 4th Arsenal, 3rd Chelsea, 2nd Man United, 1st Man City. Let me know in the comments below what you think is going to happen. That's my predictions video, so hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back later on to talk a bit more about Sunderland. Oh, that's going to be fun, isn't it? Oh God, see you later. Football's back, get in.